Impeachment craziness? While we're not going to cover every second of this because I don't want to bore you or myself to tears, there was some good stuff today. Colin Kaepernick, do not roll your eyes yet. He's back in the news, and I have some employment advice for you. Finally, Hillary Clinton is saying things. I wonder who predicted that. All that's coming up now. The day is finally here. Impeachment is here. The impeachment public hearings began. And let's recap before we get to all the great video highlights. Let's recap on where we are and where we're headed. Again, I'm the one who told you this was coming all along, and I'm about to tell you where it ends and how it ends. These impeachment hearings are going to go on for months. Months. Normally, I think the last one took 14 months. This is not going to be a, couple week process. They are going to drag this thing on and drag this thing on. And here's where Democrats are. They're really in a bit of a bind on it for a few different reasons. Obviously, the biggest reason they're in a bind is, as you'll see from the video we're about to play you, this is all smoke and mirrors. This is all hearsay. There's nothing concrete. There's nothing black and white. There's certainly nothing that even comes close to rising to the level of removing the President of the United States. That's problem number one. Problem number two, we are less than a year away from the 2020 election, where the President of the United States, 1/3 of the Senate, and every single member of the United States House of Representatives is up for re-election. Democrats do not have time to allow impeachment to dominate the news cycle. Impeachment dominating the news cycle does nothing to help Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren or Buttigieg or whoever the next Democrat nominee is going to be. Impeachment doesn't help them at all. This needs to get out of the news cycle quickly, and it's not going to, because once the House is done with these impeachment hearings, they will then decide on voting for articles of impeachment. This is when we decide whether we're actually impeaching Donald Trump or not. I am here to tell you they will do it. The head of the Democrat Party is not Nancy Pelosi, it's not Joe Biden, it's not Barack Obama, it's not Chuck Schumer. The head of the Democrat Party is impeachment. They got that ball rolling 3 years ago. They promised their base time and time and time again, we're going to impeach, we're going to impeach, we're going to impeach. And now there's not a single Democrat in the country powerful enough to stand up and tell their base, sorry, we can't. So they are going to file articles of impeachment. Donald Trump is going to be impeached. Then it moves to the Senate, where the trial should take about 30 seconds. Granted, senators have never been known to give up their TV time, so they will then drag that on as well. Only that's where the Republicans control things, so the witnesses who frankly didn't look that great today are going to look even worse when they stand underneath the withering withering questioning of people like Lindsey Graham. We all remember how great he did during the Kavanaugh show trial. So that's where we are. Now, what happened today? Well, keep in mind as you pay attention to the two witnesses you saw today, Taylor and Kent. When you're doing a trial of any kind, any attorney will tell you, you lead with your best. You don't wait like in the movies and, you know what, let's call a star witness on the last day and surprise everybody. That is not how that works. You lead with the best guy you have because you are trying to set the tone for the jury, and in this case, the jury is the American people, because this impeachment thing's all over every TV station. Democrats had today. Today was the day they were going to lead with their best, and they didn't lead with their best very well at all. It did not go well. But Devin Nunes, he was pretty frank about what exactly this thing is. Here he is.
Anyone familiar with the Democrats' scorched earth war against President Trump would not be surprised to see all the typical signs that this is a carefully orchestrated media smear campaign. For example, after vowing publicly that impeachment requires bipartisan support, Democrats are pushing impeachment forward without the backing of a single Republican. The witnesses deemed suitable for television by the Democrats were put through a closed-door audition process in a cult-like atmosphere in the basement of the Capitol, where Democrats conducted secret depositions, released a flood of misleading and one-sided leaks, and later selectively released transcripts in a highly staged manner.
I mean, all that's true. See, this is another problem for Democrats, and I'm not sure they had a way out of this. If you're the Democrats and you had to impeach President Donald Trump, and they did, as I just explained to you, there's no way they can stop that train now. So you have to impeach President Trump. You have to attempt to go about it the smartest way possible. Is doing secret meetings the smartest way possible? Is denying Republicans their witnesses the smartest way possible? I mean, you may think that sounds nice, but what the American people see, the American people who are actually paying attention to this, they just see a normal partisan fight. They don't see an impeachment hearing. They see, oh, Democrats are fighting with Republicans again. This is not a bipartisan effort at all. And the more we go along, the further we go along here, the worse the Democrats look. And then, I mean, look, William Taylor did himself no favors today because keep in mind, this is a man, this whole thing, this whole impeachment thing is about a phone call between Donald Trump and Ukraine's Zelensky. Zelensky has already come out and said there was no quid pro quo. Donald Trump's come out and said there was no quid pro quo. Donald Trump immediately, it's not like we had to drag it out of him, immediately released the transcript. We can read it. Like, there's the transcript. I don't have to guess. So we're now calling witnesses forward who, I'm not making this up, heard from a guy who heard from a guy who heard from this monkey who heard from this dog about what's in the transcript that I can already read. This is the flimsiest thing I've ever heard in my entire life, but hey, listen to William Taylor.
What I can do here for you today is tell you what I heard from people. And in this case, it was what I heard from Ambassador Sondland.
Wait, so he didn't even hear the call? In fact, he just talked to a guy who also didn't, wait, what? That can't be right. But it is right. Now, Republicans are finally waking up and learning how to fight back the right way. And what do I mean by that? One of, if not the best questioner in the entire United States House of Representatives. If you want to yank the truth out of somebody or make a liar look really bad, is Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan is awesome at cross-examining witnesses, breaking them down, and tearing them to bits. Well, what did Republicans do? They moved Jim Jordan just for this. He was not on the House Intelligence Committee. The Republicans made the decision to move their attack dog to the Intelligence Committee just so we could get amazing video like what you're about to watch now.
Ambassador Taylor recalls that Mr. Morrison told Ambassador Taylor that I told Mr. Morrison that I conveyed this message to Mr. Yarmouk on September 1st, 2019 in connection with Vice President Pence's visit to Warsaw and a meeting with President Zelensky. We got 6 people having 4 conversations in one sentence, and you just told me this is where you got your clear understanding. Which, I mean, even though you had 3 opportunities with President Zelensky for him to tell you, you know what? We're going to do these investigations to get the aid. Didn't tell you 3 different times. Never makes an announcement, never tweets about it, never does a CNN interview. Ambassador, you weren't on the call, were you? The President, you didn't listen on President Trump's call and President Zelensky's call?
I did not.
You've never talked with Chief of Staff Mulvaney?
I never did.
You never met the President?
That's correct.
You had 3 meetings again with Zelensky and it didn't come up.
And 2 of those they had never heard about as far as I know.
And President
There was no reason for it to
President
come up.
Zelensky never made an announcement. This is what I can't believe. And you're their star witness. You're their first witness.
Mr.
You're the
Jordan,
guy. You're the guy based on this, based on, I mean, I've seen church prayer chains that are easier to understand than this. Ambassador Taylor recalls that Mr. Morrison told, now again, this is, I hereby swear and affirm from Gordon Sondland. Ambassador Taylor recalls that Mr. Morrison told Ambassador Taylor that I told Mr. Morrison that I conveyed this message to Mr. Yarmouk on September 1st, 20. This all happens, by the way. This all happens, by the way, in Warsaw, where Vice President Pence meets with President Zelensky. And guess what?
Taylor,
they didn't talk about any linkage either.
Oof. Ladies and gentlemen, I owe you all an apology. I should have warned you that while this is normally a family show that you can sit down and watch with your kids, apparently we're going to show a murder on live television. Listen to this as Jim Jordan continues to go on.
And we know that from your deposition, in those 55 days that aid is delayed, you met with President Zelensky 3 times. The first one was July 26th, the day after the famous call now between President Trump and President Zelensky. President Zelensky meets with you, Ambassador Volker, and Ambassador Sondland. And again, according to your deposition and your testimony, there was no linkage of security assistance dollars to investigating Burisma or the Bidens. Second meeting is August 27th. Again, in this 55-day time frame, second meeting is August 27th. President Zelensky meets with you and Ambassador Bolton and others. And again, there's no linkage of dollars, security assistance dollars, to an investigation of the Bidens. Then, of course, the third meeting is September 5th. President Zelensky meets with you and Senators Johnson and Murphy. And once again, there was no linkage of security assistance dollars to an investigation of Burisma or the Bidens. 3 meetings with the president of Ukraine, the new president, and no linkage. That's accurate?
Ms. Jordan, it's certainly accurate on the first two meetings because, to my knowledge, the Ukrainians were not aware of the hold on assistance until the 29th of August.
So the Politico article.
The Politico article. The third meeting that you mentioned with the senators, Senators Murphy and Senator Johnson, there was discussion of the security assistance, but
no linkage.
But there was not discussion of linkage.
Ouch. Just to clarify, because I know that was a lot of heard from a guy who heard from a guy in this time span and linkage this and when they're talking linkage is what the entire Democrat case rests on, just so you're aware. They must absolutely prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, which clearly they're never going to be able to do, that Donald Trump wanted Joe Biden investigated and he was only going to release the military funds if Joe Biden was investigated by Ukraine. Democrats must provide that link. This was their star witness to provide that link, and there's no link. There's nothing there. There's I felt this way. There's I heard from a guy who heard from a guy, but nobody heard from the guy. Maybe there's not a guy. And speaking of which, Joe Biden, don't think for a moment that Joe Biden is sitting at home cheering this whole thing, because remember, he's on camera bragging about doing what they're currently trying to impeach the President of the United States for doing. Twisting somebody's arm to prompt somebody to do something for them. That's what Joe Biden did. And none of this looks good on Joe Biden's son. In fact, one of the Democrats' star witnesses even brought up Hunter Biden.
The pervasive and long-standing problem of corruption in Ukraine included exposure to a situation involving the energy company Burisma. The primary concern of the U.S. government since 2014 was Burisma's owner, Mykola Zlochevsky, whose frozen assets abroad we had attempted to recover on Ukraine's behalf. In early 2015, I raised questions with the Deputy Prosecutor General about why the investigation of Mr. Zlochevsky had been terminated, based on our belief that prosecutors had accepted bribes to close the case. Later, I became aware that Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma. Soon after that, in a briefing call with the National Security Staff of the Office of the Vice President in February of 2015, I raised my concern that Hunter Biden's status as a board member could create the perception of a conflict of interests.
Oops. This was supposed to be the Democrats' day. You know Joe Biden is sitting at home and he's starting to squirm around a little bit in his chair. His eye's probably bleeding as we speak. That's not good. That is not good. None of this is going to look good for anybody. This will leave a stain on the Trump presidency. It will. Maybe not in your mind, maybe not in my mind, but he will go down as, I believe, the 4th president in history to be impeached, even though he won't be removed from office. This is going to look terrible for the Democrats who are partisan, and the American people don't see them working for them at all. Well, how does a single American's life getting any better with this whole witch hunt thing? So nobody's going to look good. But man, Joe Biden, whose presidential campaign appears to be crumbling as we speak, this is not giving him a boost at all. And let us not forget, this all began with the whistleblower. Whistleblower this, whistleblower that. The whistleblower must be protected, even though every single person on earth knows the whistleblower's name. And as you watch this exchange between Adam Schiff and Jim Jordan, I want you to remember something. Adam Schiff's staff interviewed the whistleblower. Now, knowing that, listen to this.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, do you anticipate when we would vote on that?
What purpose does Mr. Jordan seek recognition?
Just to ask a clarifying question, do you anticipate when we might vote on the ability to have the whistleblower in front of us, something you Of the 435 members of Congress, you are the only member who knows who that individual is, and your staff is the only staff of any member of Congress who's had a chance to talk with that individual. We would like that opportunity. When might that happen in this proceeding today?
First, as the gentleman knows, that's a false statement. I do not know the identity of the whistleblower, and I'm determined to make sure that identity is protected.
That's a lie. It's a bald-faced lie. If we had any kind of media in this country, Schiff would be answering question after question after question about exactly that for the next 24 hours. That's a lie. Do you really believe the whistleblower walked into Adam Schiff's office and sat down and was interviewed by his staff, and then Adam Schiff just came rolling in afterwards? Oh, who was that? Oh, nobody, boss. Just the whistleblower, but we can't tell you his name. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Come on. I was born at night, but not last night. Coming up to discuss all this madness, editor of BearingArms.com, our favorite Cam Edwards. Hang on. Joining me now to talk impeachment madness, editor of BearingArms.com, Cam Edwards. Cam, I feel like we all know how this game ends. I mean, we have to cover it. We have to watch it because, I mean, we're political nuts. But we all know how this ends, right? Or am I crazy? The House is going to impeach him because they have to. Their base demands it, and they've promised it for 3 years. This goes to the Senate, where the witnesses, who frankly didn't look very good today, get destroyed by United States senators. And then the Senate dismisses this whole thing, and we're right back to square one. Am I missing anything?
You know, the only thing I disagree with you is that we don't actually have to watch it. And according to a new poll, many of us are not. I think it was something like 27% of Americans said that they were very likely to watch these impeachment hearings. And by the way, Jesse, they're now saying this is going to go 6 hours a day, 6 days a week for 6 weeks. You know, Americans are going to lose interest in this, I think, because it is a political sideshow. And you're right. We know how this is going to end. It doesn't matter what is said. We know that the Democrats are going to impeach. We know this is going over to the Senate. And we know that the Senate is going to, as you say, you know, actually put on a full hearing and going to acquit the president here. We know that that's going to happen. And so I think Americans are going to tune this out really quickly.
Cam, walk me through. I know this is difficult for you because it's difficult for me. Put on your I'm a Democrat hat. What do they hope to gain from this? And I really mean this politically. Okay, you're a Democrat. You want a political win out of this. What's a political win for you? You just mentioned 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. People are not only going to get bored with it, people tend to get frustrated after that much time watching their representatives waste their time and not do anything to help them. For an impeachment that's doomed to failure, is a stain on the Trump presidency really a political win for Democrats?
I don't think so. But, you know, again, I think it goes back to the idea that Nancy Pelosi was sort of forced into this by the more extreme, portions of her party. I don't think that this was something that Schumer or Pelosi willingly wanted to do. I think this was something that they felt like they had to do to keep their base in line. And so, you know, to salvage a win for the Democrats, it's really going to just be their attempt at winning the messaging war. And, you know, flooding the airwaves during the 2020 election cycle with ads that make it seem like the president is a criminal guilty of treason or worse. And, you know, whether or not that is a winning message in the swing states that Democrats are going to need to pick up, I think remains to be seen, because in those states, I really don't think that this is, again, a big issue for most Americans. This is political theater. And, you know, Americans are worried about kitchen table pocketbook issues right now. They're worried about the increased cost of their health care. They're worried about their jobs going away. They're worried about their rights being taken away by people who say that, hell yes, we're coming to take your AR-15. Those are the things that they're worried about. And I think those are the things that are going to matter to voters in those critical states, not impeachment.
I agree. I feel like Democrats have already lost this when it comes to that public opinion, court of public opinion thing, which really is the only thing that matters when it comes to this thing, because if they're already rebranding it, Cam, which they are, now I heard they dropped quid pro quo and now it's flat out extortion because apparently quid pro quo didn't move the meter enough. So they dropped that. They're already rebranding it, and they led with 2 witnesses today when they had control of the House, and they looked awful. Those were not, if that's their star, my goodness, if this is what it looked like on day one, what is this going to look like in week number 4 after the 90th hour of testimony? How can they pull a win out of this?
Only with the help of the media can they try to get any sort of spin win here. Because you're right, you would want to lead with your strongest witness. And so what we still have not heard is any direct evidence of either extortion or a quid pro quo. And one of the dangers, I think, for Democrats, too, going forward, Jesse, is that, there was good reason to be investigating this company in Ukraine. There was good reason to be looking into Joe Biden's connections. It's not like this was a wild goose chase, on the part of the Trump administration to want an investigation into corruption in these businesses. And so I think as this continues, you may see, more coverage of more malfeasance involving the vice president and his family members in this company in Ukraine. And Democrats certainly don't want that, but I think that's unavoidable, that there's going to be more scrutiny on the former vice president.
Well, I tend to agree. And I think, Democrats may be using all the power they have because they control the House right now. But this thing eventually moves to the Senate if they impeach him, and they may be able to shield Hunter Biden. And it's my understanding they're shielding him right now in the House from being called forward. They're not going to have that luxury in the Senate. And Hunter Biden, on top of there not being a great explanation for him explaining why he had a $50,000 a month job, he doesn't come off great anyway. And I'm not being mean to the guy. He did that long, what was supposed to be a puff piece on, I think it might have been CBS, and he looked terrible. He didn't look believable. He looked shady.
Yeah, again, I think this is going to be an issue for Democrats, as you say, when this moves into the Senate, as it most likely will. And even beyond Biden, this is going to impact Warren. This is going to impact Booker. This is going to impact Klobuchar, I guess, who's still in the race, and all of the other senators who, during the early primary votes, they're going to be stuck in the Senate taking part in this trial as opposed to being out on the campaign trail.
Yeah, I don't see the end game. All right, let's go back to your state here, because you and I haven't talked since this election. When obviously Virginia is blue now, it's no big surprise. There are a lot of reasons for that. I would argue it's mainly the D.C. sprawl. The New York Times, among others, would say it's immigration. Whatever the reasons may be, Virginia, the great state of Virginia, a state that I love dearly, is apparently blue now. They're already bringing up gun legislation again and whatnot. My question is, when is the Edwards family moving out to the safety of Texas?
We've had conversations even before the election about Oklahoma, although we did look at a couple of places online in Texas. but I'm not going without a fight. See? In fact, I will tell you, about 30 minutes from now, I'm going to be going to my county supervisors meeting. I'm going to be asking those county supervisors to declare my county a Second Amendment sanctuary. And I'm going to be working as hard as I can at a grassroots level here in Virginia during the next legislative session to push back on these new infringements that are coming the way, for every Virginia gun owner. And I can tell you, I talked to my local gun store owner today. They are selling out of AR-15s faster than they can keep in stock. As soon as they order them from their distributor, they're sold. So Virginians are not buying these guns as a short-term rental, ready to turn them over to the government here. They're planning on remaining in compliance with the Second Amendment, if not in compliance with the laws of the state of Virginia. So I think I'm not alone when I say that I'm going to stay here and fight. I think we've got a lot of gun owners who are going to do so. But you know what? We also do have to recognize that this fight was lost in the suburbs. The D.C. sprawl, as you say, has a lot to do with it, but there were some Richmond races that also did not go the way that we needed them to go. And we actually do have to have a message that resonates with those suburban moms who are scared that their kids are going to get hurt when they go to school. And they're flooded with these campaign messages paid for by Michael Bloomberg, telling them that the only way to make sure that their kids are safe is to try to ban their way to safety.
Yeah, I don't know how we tackle that one, Cam. Look, I've been the one coming out against the 19th Amendment for a long time now, but apparently that's falling on deaf ears. I'm glad you're fighting the good fight in Virginia, Cam, but see, this is why your life is harder than my life. I don't have what we call character or anything like that. I would just pack up and move anyway. I would advise you moving again. I would advise against you moving to Oklahoma as long as you have all your teeth, but that's just me.
Oh, man, come on, dude. I lived in Oklahoma for 25 years, and you know why Oklahoma is so windy? It's because Kansas blows
What?
and Texas sucks. That's why.
All right. Editor of BearingArms.com, Cam Edwards. Cam, I
I love
appreciate you, my
Texas,
friend.
Don't make me leave on an insult to Texas.
I know you do, man. I'll see you soon.
All right, see you, Jesse.
Coming up, the NFL and Colin Kaepernick, don't roll your eyes, and you get employment advice from me. Advice your dad should have told you, but apparently I need to. Hang on. Colin Kaepernick is back in the news. Why is he back in the news? Well, apparently the NFL is stupid. Remember what I told you yesterday, and I've told you several times before, the three most dangerous words in the English language are corporate social responsibility. I mean, you remember what 2016 was like, right, for the NFL? The NFL is a ratings juggernaut. Almost every single year, 7 to 8 of the highest rated TV programs are NFL games. The country loves football. We consume it, we eat it up. It's just the way it is. We're a football nation. But in 2016, Colin Kaepernick famously went out and decided he was going to kneel for the national anthem. This prompted other players to kneel. Everybody crapped on the flag. It was a big controversy out there. NFL ratings for the first time in a long time plummeted. They stunk. American people were turned off. I still have people telling me to this day, I'll never watch an NFL game. It hurt the NFL. It did not help the NFL. Well, now, for some reason, unknown to anybody outside of the NFL offices, the NFL is sponsoring a tryout for Colin Kaepernick. For those of you saying, well, yeah, of course. No, this is not something the NFL does. They don't sponsor tryouts for individual players who are trying to make a team. It's weird. Colin Kaepernick, of course, put out a statement right away saying, I'm just getting word from my representatives at the NFL league office. Reached out to them about a workout in Atlanta on Saturday. I've been in shape and ready for this for 3 years. Can't wait to see the head coaches and GMs on Saturday. Well, this is the same Colin Kaepernick, let us not forget. Well, back in 2016, when he was destroying NFL ratings, he was doing it, to help the oppressed people. Here he was.
This stand wasn't for me. This stand wasn't because I feel like I'm being put down in any kind of way. This is because I'm seeing things happen to people that don't have a voice, people that don't have a platform to talk and have their voices heard and affect change. So I'm in a position where I can do that, and I'm going to do that for people that can't.
And what an ambassador for those people he was, too. Who can forget when he took the field wearing socks showing cops as pigs? Here it is. Yeah, those are lovely, Colin. Good work. So anyway, Roger Goodell, commissioner of the NFL, he put out a statement saying if any team wants to sign him, it's up to them to sign him. I'm just washing my hands of it. All I'm doing is promoting the guy with a special tryout. Here he is.
I think if a team decides that Colin Kaepernick or any other player can help their team win, that's what they'll do. They want to win, and they make those decisions individually in the best interest of their club.
And the hated Dallas Cowboys, their owner, Jerry Jones. Look, I'm a Giants fan. I can hate the Cowboys all I want. Screw you. Jerry Jones came out. We can all remember this. Much as I dislike the Cowboys, I thought it was pretty cool when Jerry said, hey, you're playing for my team. You're standing.
Our policy is that you stand at the anthem, toe on the line. We feel strongly about how we deal with it, and we'll do so accordingly. But yes, I'd like, everybody would like for it to go away.
Well, He's right. Everybody would like for it to go away. The question is, why would the NFL be bringing it up? But let's set all this aside. This is not really a football show, even though I love football. Do you know why Colin Kaepernick is not in the NFL? Come here, I'm going to tell you something. You ready for this? Because his baggage outweighed his talent. In life, as an employee, look, you're an employee, I'm an employee. Everybody on some level works for somebody. Make sure your talent outweighs your baggage. And everybody likes to think of themselves as a special little butterfly. You know, my mommy told me I can do anything and all that stuff that is not really true at all. Most people are average. That's why they call it average. And if you're just average at your job, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You can have a dang nice, happy life being average at your job. But allow me to tell you something. If you're just average, show up on time. Don't leave early. Don't talk about the boss or anyone else behind their back. When given a task, do not return to the boss and tell him anything but the task is completed. Don't return to him and say, hey, it was really hard. And look, if you're average, don't have too many beers at the company Christmas party. Do you know who can show up late? Who can leave early? Who can have one too many at the company Christmas party? Who can roll his eyes at inappropriate times during meetings? The guy who's above average. The guy who's number one in sales. And I know you're going to say, well, that's not fair. Life is unfair. If you want to be the guy who scams into work an hour late every day, you better be dang good at your job. Colin Kaepernick is not an NFL quarterback because Colin Kaepernick can't read a safety to save his life. Tom Brady could have kneeled on the American flag and he would still be in the NFL. Why? Because he's really freaking good. If you're Colin Kaepernick and you're a bench warmer who sucks, don't be causing headaches for me. Don't be driving my attendance numbers down. Don't be driving my TV ratings down. You show up, shut up, and work hard, and then go home and make sure you wash my car on your way out of the facility. And there is a great lesson in that for each and every one of you. There's a great lesson in that for me. Granted, I'm not average, but still, there's a great lesson there. Remember it. Always, always, always make sure your talent outweighs your baggage. That'll take you far in life. Now, as you all know, I prefer to remain humble, understated. The last thing in the world I would ever want to do is brag on myself. It's actually one of my best qualities. So when I make a prediction, and that prediction turns out to be right, I mean, look, I'm not going to brag about it. I may bring it up just so you have some context into how amazing and genius I am. Remember when I told you what Hillary Clinton was going to do? Remember when I said that? Well, if you don't remember, don't worry. I have great news. I'm going to play it back for you in just a moment and then give you the latest update on Hillary Clinton. You'll enjoy it. Hang on. Well, do you remember October 21st? That huge day? Now you may be thinking to yourself, well, no, what, let me check my calendar. What was October 21st? Well, there was another amazing episode of I'm Right. How could you not remember that? And during that amazing episode of I'm Right with me, I made a prediction. And it wasn't one of these, I think it did. I made a prediction to you. And oh boy, does it look like it's coming. First of all, here's what I said on October 21st. Because she's bored. She's power hungry. She's bored. And she has advisors all around her that are saying to her, Hillary, this is our time. Look at Joe Biden. He's bleeding from the eyes. Elizabeth Warren's writing recipes for Pow Wow Chow. This can be your election. Trust me, Hillary. This is the time. Now, to you and I and every other sane person on earth, that sounds like crazy talk. But if you're Hillary Clinton, somebody who has had an absolute thirst for power for as many years as she has. Think about it. She's been First Lady. She's been a United States Senator. She's been Secretary of State. She is that close to being President of the United States in an election she thought she deserved to win and to this day thinks was stolen from her. If you are that person, how many advisors would it take to whisper in your ear and say, Hillary, Joe's washed up. Elizabeth Warren and her turkey with strep throat voice is not going to win. If you jump in right now, they'll view you as the savior and you can take this primary. So I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, Hillary Clinton is getting into this race. Man, that's good TV right there. I did love the little headline underneath too. Jesse Kelly, political clairvoyant. Look, I would call myself more of a prophet, but whatever. People do what they do. So why did I bring that up? Why am I playing that back for you now? Well, Hillary Clinton is back in the news, and what's she saying? She's saying that thing that every single politician on earth says when they're about to get in a race, when they're thinking hard about getting in a race. And what is that thing? They always want to act like they're all Cincinnatus from ancient Rome. And what did Hillary Clinton say? Well, many, many, many people are asking me to get in this race. She's getting in. She is getting in. They all do this. Every single one of them does this. I mean, it's like clockwork. A politician will be rumored to be thinking about getting in, and then the next thing you hear, the politician will, play the reluctant hero. Hey, this gives me no pleasure to do it, but a lot of people are begging me to get in. I don't know if I can leave my family at this time, who I dearly love, at least when the cameras are on. But I mean, people are asking. I mean, we'll have to see. And then what comes after that? What will come after that for Hillary Clinton will be the announcement. It won't be long now. She'll be stepping up to that podium because she has to for some of these early primary states. She has to get in sooner rather than later. Hillary Clinton's going to step up to that podium and say, hey, I just wanted to retire. I was having a great life pretending to hang out with Bill. I mean, he was gone a lot at night, but I didn't, anyway. But the people have spoken. Everybody loves me. And, she'll throw in a couple coughs. Everyone loves me. And I promise I'm not going to pass out this time and have to get thrown in a van like an old love seat. I'm going to take the Democratic nomination just because the people want me, because the people love me so much. I'm Hillary Clinton. I've been seeking power for the last 3 decades. It is coming. It is coming. And let me tell you something. I'm going to be absolutely insufferable when it happens. Now, we have a very, very, very fun show planned for you tomorrow. Do not miss it. Pluto TV channel 248. Tell your friends, tell your wife, tell your kids. We'll be back and better than ever then.